Hi, y'all. Keri Stevens here, and I'm faculty in Moody College of Communication. Today, I'm going to share with you a tip for online teaching that I've found, and that is using breakout rooms. So let me share my screen, and let's get started. So breakout rooms are something that I have used this spring with Zoom for the first time. I've used a lot of different online meeting software systems before, and I've used them for my classroom, but Zoom was new for me. So I thought you might find these tips helpful for you as well. So I will tell you that I love my active classrooms. You can take a look. I have my students get in small groups and they meet strung over chairs in the classroom. We make it work. I teach a class of about 100 students and I run 20 different teams in that classroom. So what happens when we go online and we can't see all of this active learning happening? Well, for me, I use breakout rooms. So why might you use breakout rooms? First of all, what I'm finding is that even my small classes feel big to some students. They don't speak out. And so what breakout rooms allow you to do is put them in small groups so that they can chat among themselves, they can work together, and then you can actually have them come back and report out to the entire class if that's what you desire. The other thing that's cool is that in Zoom, you can actually visit their breakout rooms. Now, I suggest that you not do this constantly or they start to get a bit annoyed. I've done that. But I think that visiting them once within a 30-minute session, just to answer any questions and be sure they're on track, can be a really great strategy for you. So where do you find breakout rooms? Well, I did a screenshot of me pointing to where the breakout rooms so that you can see where that little icon is in Zoom. So what are the options that you have? The first thing I would suggest you do is think about how you want to assign participants. In one of the boxes, you actually have the option to pre-assign your students, and that is when you're actually setting up your entire Zoom class meeting for that day. Now, you can also just randomly assign them to groups as they come into the classroom that day, or in smaller classes, what I do is I actually go through, and if I want them to be in specific groups, I'll just manually assign them after they come in class. I found that I can do that with up to 20 students in a classroom. So some things to really consider, because I think I've learned the hard way. And the first thing is, think about how much time you want them to spend in the breakout sessions. No matter what, every time I've done it, at least one group has asked me for more time. So think about whether or not you want to use the countdown option. So if you give your groups 30 minutes, give them a full 2 to 3 minute countdown so that they can wrap up their discussion, because what happens in Zoom is when the time's up, they pop you right back into the whole big classroom, and the students kind of feel a bit jolted in that activity. So keep that in mind. The other thing you want to do is you want to let them, even in their small groups, be able to jump back into the main classroom, because you can actually stay in there and be available for them to pop back in to ask you questions. It's actually not as awkward as I thought it would be. I found it kind of energizing and exciting whenever I started playing around with these options. So some best practices, and I tell you, I've learned my lesson on several of these. First of all, I know that we're all planners whenever we teach classes anyway, but really whenever you want to do breakout sessions, you really need to think about this in advance. You want to think about how much time to spend in those breakouts. You want to also structure the time for the students. Tell them you should spend about 10 minutes chatting and getting to know one another. You should spend 15 minutes working on this. You should spend the last 5 minutes putting together what you're going to report out to the class. Give them that level of detail, and also let them know how you will be available to help and monitor their groups. You also want to decide whether or not you want to randomly assign people to the breakouts or purposefully put them into small groups. The students will want to chat when they get in those small breakouts. It's amazing. And so give them that time, and don't be surprised if they're not on task within the first 5 minutes of getting into those breakouts. Finally, I think that a lot of times what you need to do is really give some thought to how you want them to end their time in those breakout sessions. I mentioned it earlier, but the countdown is a really great option that I've found has been successful. You know, ultimately, let them have fun. You know, I think that breakout rooms are a great way for them to kind of get to know each other on a smaller, more personal level. And it's a great way to facilitate collaboration as well as teamwork. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to wish you all the absolute best as you go forth and you play around with breakout rooms. I'm finding they work pretty well. It's actually probably something that I will continue using well beyond the time that we have to get online and have all of our classes online. Take care. Have a great day.